Gut Live. My name is James Marin, Integrative Registered Dietitian, Environmental Nutritionist.
I'm Delia Marin, Registered Dietitian Nutritionist, and we are the co-founders of Married to Health. We appreciate you all being here with us. We love tackling these topics. Many of the topics were inspired by your questions, and we wanted to address all things with your good gut, especially as it pertains to SIBO, IMO, and IBS, since that is what we are here to support you with. That is what we love specializing in. That is what I love talking with patients about. And so we love when you all ask us questions about these things and tell us which needs you have that are not yet being met by your care team and how we can continue to understand them.
Hello from California. We're in California too. Hi, everyone. So we can see your questions live. And for our Good Gut members, we can see your questions as well. So feel free to pop a question down below. The topic today is on nausea. Just that came to our hearts and our minds. Dahlia especially seen patients with, nausea. I'm feeling nauseous. I feel nauseous, whether it's chronically or when it does come around. What does that mean? What are you feeling? What should you be doing? But we're here to answer any and all questions. So as you put them, we'll see them pop up and we'll answer them. And so this is part of our Good Gut Live. We also do our dietitian talk. So we're live at least twice a month on our YouTube, Facebook, wherever you're watching this. So we're excited to be live with you guys. How's everyone doing? Did you guys have a good week? The heat's over here in Southern California. We had like a massive heat wave, so feeling the heat for sure, even more so than regular in California. But let us know how you guys are. I know there's some crazy weather going on. I know there's some crazy intergalactic planetary shifts and energy and all that stuff going on. And energy with family and friends and all of that. I say all of this because nausea is really cool. And yeah, I mean to say that. And this goes back to what we believe, guys. This goes back to something we've said previously, whether it's on interviews or lives or anything we do. But it's really this understanding that symptoms are important. Like, you want symptoms. I would rather have symptoms than no symptoms. So it's important to understand symptoms are your body's way of communicating, right? Symptoms are your body's way of talking to you. So I would rather, and I'm learning this even as a grown adult, it's better to communicate, especially in marriage, right? It's better to communicate than not to communicate, right? It's better to communicate with your kids, your spouse, or whoever, your partner, your business partner, and your body. It's all true. You can never have too much communication unless you're a 7.5-year-old daughter who just talks nonstop. No, I'm just kidding. Even then, that's a blessing and it's beautiful. So symptoms are a blessing and it's beautiful.
Though they don't always feel that way.
Exactly. And it is especially when you don't have that nurturing community or that loving family or those around you who can't help you with those symptoms or who can't help you understand and talk back and have that two-way communication about your symptoms. That's when it can be really frustrating and really, symptoms are amplified because you're already like not feeling well and then you're frustrated. You don't know what to do. You get confused. And you're in a rough spot. So we totally understand that.
And so that's where we try to come in here and be here for you, where you can take some of these thoughts back to your own care team. You can ask more questions here. We really want to provide this just safe space for you to really understand, why are these symptoms popping up? Why is this happening? What's underneath these symptoms? You all know we practice very integratively. And so we like to really dive deeper and say, what's underneath this? What's the root of this? I like to say, whether it's mentally, physically, what's the need that's going unmet? So is there something in your body that's telling you, I have a need? Help me with this. So we're diving in deep today on nausea. We talked last time about reflux. We got really good feedback from you all, great questions on reflux. So they can sometimes go hand in hand. Nausea can sometimes be a part of that. So let's talk about the why behind nausea. So let's talk about short term. When it's not a long-term problem, maybe you're not feeling nauseous all the time. It's just kind of hot and heavy, comes on quickly, and it's something that you can possibly alleviate within a few days. Usually that's going to be something like food poisoning, right? Your body's saying, don't you dare come in deeper. Let me take you out before you can do any more damage. It could be something going on with your endocrine system or your adrenal system, right? It could be dehydration that's causing nausea. It could also be blood sugar imbalances that can cause nausea, right? If you're dehydrated, your electrolytes are off, you could feel very nauseous. Your body's telling you, hey, please meet my need for more electrolytes. If your blood sugar is imbalanced, maybe it's very low and you're not having the glucose that your body needs to function its best. Maybe your blood sugar is very high and there's more than it can handle. It's telling you, I'm nauseous. Pay attention to me. And it could become more of a pattern, or it could be something short term. So you want to think of it that way. Short term, what is behind some of this?
And if I could add really quickly, I mean, nausea again is pretty cool. Nausea is really this intersection of so many of your body's physiology and systems at play. Where we're talking about the endocrine system, the autonomic nervous system, and just so many of these systems kind of coming together almost in this massive switchboard. And nausea is like really this pulse on all these symptoms. And so when you are feeling that, like, oh, I almost feel like I want to throw up, or my stomach feels queasy, or I don't feel right, nausea is really the gauge. It's the meter that's really tapped into all these symptoms, because so much goes into feeling this way, that it's really a gauge. So if you're chronically nauseous, or if it's once in a while, or when it does come around, it's really severe and you end up vomiting, then it's something you want to pay attention to, because it is tapping into so many different systems of your body. And you want to go, what is that? And talk to someone knowledgeable about that and really dive deeper, like Dahlia was saying. Is it something surface level? Cool, no problem. My electrolytes are off, or I'm dehydrated, it's been really hot.
My blood sugar's low.
Or my blood sugar's low, I'm not eating, I'm too busy, I'm too stressed. And hopefully maybe it's something like that. Cool, let's tweak some things and fix it. Or it could be a little bit deeper at times, and then you still want to take the time to dive deeper with it. So very important.
So what could be deeper then? I think that's so important to explore, of asking yourself, okay, it's not acute. I know my blood sugar's good. I'm not dehydrated. I don't have food poisoning, but I'm still nauseous. So let's start peeling back the layers of this onion. I would say probably for a lot of people, nausea or a feeling of just early satiety, where you feel like, man, I thought I was this hungry, but I could only eat this much, right? I can only eat a portion of what I thought I was hungry for. First off, a pretty outward layer for a lot of people is, are you constipated, right? Do you have constipation? So our gut and our brain are always communicating, all parts of it. So we do have something called the gastrocolic reflex, and it's basically nerves in the colon that then send signals back up to the brain. So if your colon and your colon's expanded, these nerves are stimulated because there's a lot of stool and there's a lot of bulk in there, like in the morning, right? A lot of people who don't have a morning bowel movement will say, I don't feel hungry for breakfast. Those nerves are telling your brain, there's too much in here. Don't eat more. Feel nauseous. Or if you even try to eat, I'm going to make sure you feel full pretty quickly. So ask yourself, am I constipated? Is that behind my nausea? Am I having incomplete bowel movements? Am I not having bowel movements? Am I having very slow bowel movements? That's a pretty outward layer that a lot of people could be having. So you want to start there. Like, what's the lowest hanging fruit that we could go with? And I say that, but it's not always easy to alleviate constipation. But you do want to ask yourself, am I having constipation? You might be having a daily bowel movement, but you still might be constipated. A lot of people are shocked by this, because if you say, oh yeah, I go every day, but 2 or 3 days in a row, they're hard, dry lumps, and then on the third or fourth or fifth day, it's diarrhea or it's very loose, that's actually a sign of constipation. If you're not consistently having nice snake-like, completely formed, smooth, effortless, almost nice feeling bowel movements, you could be constipated. And that could be something called overflow diarrhea. So that could then be communicating that signal back up to your brain. Yeah, you went, but actually maybe you're still just constipated. So that's a question to ask. Am I constipated?
Bowel movements should feel good and also should feel complete, right? So that is very, very important. Like Dahlia's saying, you want to feel like, oh, I'm empty, right? Like you don't want to go to the gas station and you don't fill your tank like halfway. We want to like fill your tank, or I know some of us do. Maybe some of us do that. Or like when our gas tank is empty, you're not waiting until it's a quarter and then going to the gas station. Like, I better just fill up when it's halfway. Like, let the tank be empty and then fill it up fully, right? So very similar bowel movements. You don't want to feel incomplete. That is still a form of constipation.
So that just goes to show that the very end of your GI tract can communicate that back up to your brain, and that could be causing that. And you want to ask, why am I constipated, right? And we've done other talks on constipation. So if you want to go back, hear more about that, we'll talk about things like pelvic floor issues, SIBO, yeast overgrowth, so many things that can cause constipation. But starting from the end of the GI tract, it can even cause that. You want to ask yourself, moving higher up, right? From the colon, we're talking right now about the colon, the large intestine, small intestine also might be causing some nausea. So we have seen that in order to stimulate motility in the small intestine, you need a couple things to be working efficiently. So one, you need to be releasing enough digestive juices. One of them that's so important, and it activates a hormone called motilin, is bile. So bile is a digestive juice. It's made by your liver, stored in your gallbladder. And when we eat, we stimulate the release of bile into the small intestine via a hormone called cholecystic kinase. That's in the small intestine. And so if your liver's sluggish, if your gallbladder is on the struggle bus, if you have bacterial overgrowth in that part of your small intestine, the duodenum, there could be things affecting your release of bile. So maybe it's what's stimulating and from your small intestine telling your gallbladder, hey, we need some bile. Maybe it's that. Maybe it's from the liver. Maybe it's from the gallbladder themselves that's not releasing enough bile. And so if you are releasing a lot of this CCK, this hormone, and not enough bile, your body thinks, well, maybe you just need more CCK. And that can actually make you feel quite nauseated. So you want to ask yourself, is that part of what's happening to me? Are my liver, my gallbladder optimally functioning? Am I releasing enough bile? Is that happening in my small intestine? So that could be other things that are happening in the small intestine.
And this all plays into one's threshold. So everyone has a different threshold, so to speak, for nausea. That's where you have that friend who goes on all the roller coaster at like Six Flags Magic Mountain. And meanwhile, you just watching that friend is making you nauseated, but that friend can come off and like go on it over and over again. And so like that's probably like Dahlia and I, right? We're like, I can go on roller coasters, Dahlia can't, but even I have a different threshold. Like when I go on a roller coaster too much, like I remember we were at, I think it was California Adventure, and we got to go on the Incredibles roller coaster, Incredicoaster. We went on it like twice, just one right after the other. And the second time I was like, whoa, wait a minute. I felt like a little throbbing in my head and I was feeling a little nausea. Like I'm like, I don't feel quite right. And could it have been a little dehydration? It was a hot day and or ate too soon and all these different factors, like I mentioned, nausea has a pulse on all these factors, and we all have different thresholds. Again, if you're missing your gallbladder, if you were just on antibiotics, how's your gut microbiome as a whole, right? How's your basically your past medical history in general will play into that threshold. So you can have a better threshold. You can work on this, and eventually, if your goal is to be like, I want to ride a roller coaster again, I just can't because I feel horrible after, that can improve. We've seen that happen, and there's studies that really speak on this threshold. So that's a cool goal to have. Like, I want to ride a roller coaster, but all these factors play in. That's maybe not Delia's goal, but all these factors play into an individual threshold, and it's based on so many important things. So yeah.
So you want to ask yourself, moving upwards, is something going on in my small intestine or the surrounding organs? So we mentioned the liver, the gallbladder, and that giving you that nausea. Is it your pancreas, right? Do you have exocrine pancreatic insufficiency where maybe you're not making enough digestive enzymes from your pancreas? So you want to ask yourself that, because again, you're not going to properly digest your food. Your body recognizes food that's improperly digested equals discomfort, and it might be communicating that need for more pancreatic enzymes to you via the symptom of nausea. So you want to ask yourself, how's my pancreas doing? Again, if you have significant blood sugar issues, if you've had pancreatic injury, you want to ask your care team, can you help me rule this out, that it's not my pancreas? And I want to make sure that's not involved in my IBS, my SIBO, my nausea. other organs and systems that can be affected. So we talked about the large intestine, the small intestine. Let's move up. Let's talk about the stomach. Your stomach can play a huge role in nausea as well, right? That's one of the first parts of your digestive tract that the food goes. It goes into your mouth first. It goes down your esophagus, and then it goes into your stomach. And of course, your stomach's job is to pump out that hydrochloric acid, help you break apart the food into smaller, more digestible pieces and components. And so is something going on in your stomach? Maybe you've had significant infectious H. pylori. So H. pylori is a type of bacteria, and it can trigger and go after your little proton pumps in your stomach and decrease your stomach acid that you make. If you don't have that stomach acid, you're not breaking apart the food. Your body's telling you, I need help in the form of nausea. So have you had significant H. pylori? Do you have low stomach acid because you've been on medication to suppress stomach acid for years? Have you been on a proton pump inhibitor or an H2 blocker for a really long time? Maybe again, that's causing your body to not want to eat a lot because it can't digest it properly. So you want to ask yourself, are those things that are going on in my stomach as well? Do I have gastroparesis, right? Is my stomach just not moving and churning? Because yes, your stomach breaks food particles apart through the stomach acid, but also it kind of just like mashes them. So your stomach churns with food in there. Is that not happening for you? Do you have gastroparesis and things are just stagnant in there? So of course, if in one of the very first areas that you're putting in food, if it's not moving and you have backup, your body's not going to want you to eat a lot because it's going to take so much longer for it to break down and digest your food. So is nausea coming from that part of your digestive tract?
I think we've all been in class. You remember like after lunch, you were in high school or junior high or something, and the classroom's all quiet and your stomach just makes this loud noise, or whether it's like you're hungry or you just like came back from lunch and it's all quiet and then you're just like, like it's almost like a weird gurgle. And it's so cool because your stomach is this smooth muscle, right? Where it's like we don't really have control over it. We don't really feel, like none of us feel our stomach pumping and moving, but it is, and it's really cool, and we just don't realize it, but we'll hear it. That's where you'll hear that gurgling. It's not just like bubbling up. It's your stomach is a muscle, and it's moving. And so really cool to think about it. We just don't feel it, and it's we hear it, and it can be kind of embarrassing, but really cool to think about.
Yes. And this goes along with my next point. If someone's asking a question, does anxiety play a major role with nausea, or is it more secondary? It can play either primary or secondary role, because we do know that when we feel very anxious, or if we've been diagnosed with anxiety or an anxiety disorder, it's causing an imbalance of neurotransmitters and other hormones. So some of the major neurotransmitters that are involved in this are acetylcholine, we know histamine, dopamine, and serotonin. So if those are off, that can affect motility. That can affect how you're going to digest foods, especially if you have this really large histamine response. That can affect output of stomach acid, output of bile. That will affect your nervous system. That controls also your rate of motility. So if you are in a constant state of anxiety and you're very triggered in this sympathetic state, that can also play a huge role. So ask yourself, and this is a question I like to ask my patients, and I like them to reflect on this. Ask yourself, what is your inner voice around food, right? Whether it's while you're buying food, whether you're thinking about the food you can buy, right? Maybe you're really stressed thinking, I can't afford a healthy food. At the store, what's your voice around food? If you're thinking about what to eat, what are those thoughts? Is it, ooh, I can't wait to eat. It's going to be delicious. I'm looking forward to it. Or that might hurt my stomach. I'm not looking forward to eating because I'm going to feel so fatigued and bloated afterward. What's that inner voice when you're thinking about preparing food? What about when you're actually preparing your food? What about when you're eating your food? Are you working and you're really stressed because you're trying to meet a deadline and you hate your boss and you hate your job? How is that inner voice and that stress playing a role into that? Are you maybe outside of mentally and emotionally stressed? Are you physically stressed by something? Are you chemically stressed by something? So yes, stress is huge.
And even with that, I mean, those of you with active IBS, right? Those of you with, a lot of these symptoms that are very acute and can happen very rapidly. Like if you're on the go, you're thinking like, I should be eating, but I'm on the go, and where's the nearest restroom, and what happens, let's be honest, some of our patients, you need to change of clothes because you have accidents and things like this is all very real things, and they're real stressful, right? And so we empathize with that, and so all of that will play in. You will be in a vicious cycle of stress, right, with all of these things. So you're really trying to get better, but at the same time you're dealing with current symptoms, and that's where it's a balance, right? You don't want to go in of just being like, we're just going to focus on root causes and that's it, and not even address your current symptoms. Well, no, it's a balance. You want to address current symptoms while diving deeper into root causes, and hopefully, and the goal being to make it sustainable and long-term changes that get you out of this vicious cycle. Super important. Do you want to see? I see another question, but
almost. I think we're almost there. And we'll answer questions, especially if they're pertaining to this, and then get your questions as well. So we talked about so many of these overarching causes. We talked in your large intestine, your colon, what can cause it, your small intestine. We talked in the stomach, some of the surrounding organs. We talked about your nervous system. Again, if you're constantly triggered in that fight or flight, or if you're stressed, you're less likely to digest that really well. And I did mention, SIBO can play into it. IMO can play into it. If you have overgrowth in your large intestine, your small intestine, it could be yeast overgrowth or fungal overgrowth if you've had significant mold exposure. And then you want to think outside of that. Lastly, any other chemical effects, right? Something like a medication. Is a medication causing nausea for you? A supplement that you're taking that might be affecting any of those things. A lot of my patients are taking really high doses of zinc, which can actually be offsetting your iron. So if you're taking, more than 10 to 15 milligrams a day, make sure you're not offsetting your iron. But a lot of patients take supplements without realizing some of these can lower your blood sugar, like zinc. Zinc is involved in releasing insulin from your pancreas. So if you're taking high doses of zinc on an empty stomach, you're likely to have nausea from that. Maybe you're taking something that's used to lower blood sugar, like high doses of berberine, which is a commonly used antimicrobial agent as well. So sometimes my SIBO patients, they're taking these far away from food, and then they're feeling really nauseous. Maybe you're on chemo, or maybe you're using other medications or supplements. Always work with your care team. Ask your pharmacist, ask whoever's recommending this to you. Can any of this be playing into my nausea? Because I wasn't having this before I started taking it. So know also that sometimes it's chemical, where some of these different things can play into your nausea. So we'll talk about what can help nausea, and then I want to answer some of these great questions that you all have too. So 1, addressing the root cause. Think back on anything we just talked about over the last 20 minutes. Did any of that resonate with you of, oh, I'm super stressed. Oh, I have been told that I might have exocrine pancreatic insufficiency. Oh, some of this resonated with me. I'm diabetic.
Very common. I had my gallbladder removed.
I've had my gallbladder removed. I have non-alcoholic fatty liver, or I was a binge drinker before, or ate really, really highly processed food and drink for a long time. So ask yourself, what's your root? And then what else can you do? So with the root, assessing if it's stress, practice stress relieving techniques, deep breathing, walking, whatever it is to calm your nervous system. There are some acupressure points to help reduce the nausea as well. So really researching, asking your care team, what acupressure points can I utilize? There's one in the wrist, and there's one on the hand, and there are others throughout the body, but acupressure points can sometimes acutely help with that. They sell those little C-bands too. I don't know if they're more a placebo effect or if they actually work, but that can be helpful. You can use different essential oils as well. So essential oils can be helpful. You can use ginger. So one that I love recommending for nausea is ginger. They've actually done studies that have shown anywhere from 350 milligrams up to 1,000 milligrams of ginger can help alleviate nausea. And that they have done studies in those with IBS. And this was also shown to help with nausea in pregnancy, because a lot of women will experience hyperemesis or just nausea in pregnancy. So ginger's safe, one of the safest things that can be utilized. So we're huge fans of ginger. And then I like combining ginger with vitamin B6 as well. So work with your care team, ask if it's appropriate for you to take vitamin B6. And guys, I promise you, we planned this topic a long time ago, and we kind of just go down the list. But
we do have.
That being said, we're going to plug it if it works. And again, we worked with Complement. We formulated Gut Nurture. We're so awkward that it's like awkward to even talk about.
I know. This is like, but that's why, honestly, guys, with this, when Dahlia was really the chief person formulating this, she formulated it with all of her patients in mind after seeing thousands and thousands of patients. And she works with IBS, gut issues on a regular basis. So that's why we put all this in here.
Yeah.
So, and we've heard great feedback of nausea. I mean, it like really
I had a
quickly
patient
nausea.
who had nausea as one of her worst symptoms when she had COVID recently. And she said Gut Nurture was the only thing that helped. She was drinking ginger tea. She was eating ginger chews. They didn't touch it, but she said Gut Nurture resolved her nausea for her. So if you do have one of these conditions that causes you to feel nauseous, Gut Nurture can help. So something to think about.
Yes.
But with this topic with nausea, we hope that you were inspired to dig deeper, to ask questions to your care team. Maybe you're going to start putting ginger in your smoothies or drink ginger tea, or, try something else, B6, acupressure points, and then dig deeper. So we want to dive in. We want to answer some of these questions that you're asking.
Yeah. Where do you want to start? Because I know some came in.
So this kind of goes along with what we were just saying. Someone's asking here on YouTube, can nutrient deficiencies cause nausea?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, absolutely. So many nutrients are involved in all those processes. Like I said, nutrients are needed to release insulin from your pancreas, for your nerves to function in your digestive tract, for everything that your body does, for your liver to detoxify properly so that way it can make enough bile to send to your gallbladder. Nutrient deficiencies can absolutely play a part into that. So if you're severely zinc deficient, you're B vitamin deficient, vitamin D deficient, omega-3 deficient, that can play huge roles in others.
If you all only knew, we've been live for about 26 minutes. In this 26 minutes, what our bodies have done. I mean, just one of us, let alone collectively, everyone that's here watching, trillions upon trillions, even maybe quadrillions of biochemical reactions have just happened in this 26 minutes, let alone with all the microbes. I mean, this is just human cell interaction, let alone all the microbial interaction. I mean, it is an unimaginable number and an unimaginable amount of chemicals that have interacted with one another. I mean, this is where, if you go back to basic chemistry, I mean, trillions upon trillions every second, biochemical reactions happening in our body. That is made possible by the nutrition that you're consuming, right? So if you are lacking in nutrition, you are lacking in this whole biochemical process that is this amazing, beautiful miracle of a body that you have. And that's why we're so passionate about what we do and nutrition, because it blows my mind still to this day. And I've been doing this for 10 plus years. So it's amazing, guys. It's amazing for sure.
But that goes to show, yes, nutritional deficiencies certainly can significantly play into nausea. So maybe you're asking your care team to check certain key vitamins and nutrients. Maybe you're having a micronutrient panel run. Something, if you're suspicious of that, if you've had a lot of malabsorption or absorption issues, maybe you are at risk for vitamin nutrient deficiency. If you've had SIBO or SIFO or IMO for a very long time, we do know that there are nutrient deficiency risks. If you do have less stomach acid output, if you have been on PPIs for a long time, these are things to consider. Has it affected my nutrient status? So that's something that we sometimes do with patients, where we'll run micronutrient panels to make sure none of those things are low.
And if you're not catching this live, comment down below. If you're watching this later on Facebook or YouTube, where it lives and you can rewatch, pause, rewind, whatever you want to do, comment down below. We're good at answering our comments. Let us know what questions you have. If you want to dive deeper into something or more clarification, we're happy to answer those comments. We see some more questions here, and then what do you think? Okay, what's best to eat to heal minor gastritis? And gastritis being really inflammation of the stomach.
The lining.
And basically, the lining of your stomach. So I think we have more going up.
Yeah. So Gastritis is different than gastroparesis. Gastroparesis
Right.
is really a rest of motility in your stomach, where gastritis is an inflammation of the lining. So as long as you're addressing why did you get gastritis in the first place, that's important. But also, you can do things to help heal the lining. So I know one of the most popular things that's used in a very short term, hopefully acute way, could be a PPI, a proton pump inhibitor, or an H2 blocker. It's kind of like putting a Band-Aid on a wound so it has a chance to heal itself. So if that's appropriate for you, ask your care team about it. Other things are commonly recommended. So you can also incorporate gooey foods that increase a compound called mucilage. So basically that helps produce more mucus to heal that lining. You do have mucus in your stomach and all throughout your small intestine, your colon as well. It's protective and important. It plays a really important role. So sometimes it's that mucus gets broken down. If you don't have severe SIBO and you don't have significant bloating, you could incorporate a lot of these foods that are mucousy foods, these gooey foods, right? Aloe, cactus, there's also okra. Those are some of our favorites.
Did you say chia?
Chia, flax.
Chia pudding.
If you do have severe SIBO and you do have severe bloating, these might actually make you feel more bloated. So in that case, if something like that isn't appropriate for you, aloe vera or even DGL, which is licorice root, these can be fermented by bacteria in the small intestine. Those can produce gas. So if that's the case, glutamine is something that's less fermentable. So maybe you're using L-glutamine to help heal the lining. Ask your care team if that's appropriate. Quercetin, if they suspect that histamines are involved at all in your gastritis. Zinc can be helpful. Again, ask your care team if it's appropriate and make sure you're not taking really high doses of zinc because it can lower your copper and your iron supplies. Vitamin D. And then one of my favorites is curcumin, right? Turmeric. So turmeric can be really great as well for healing that gut lining, decreasing that inflammation a little bit.
Yes. Do you want to answer?
This is,
That's an interesting one. Is it true soy blocks zinc absorption? So we do know from various studies that protein can enhance zinc absorption. I believe there was one study done a while back that showed, and this is a soy protein isolate. It was an observational study that showed it did decrease when soy protein was used with zinc absorption.
And that's not whole soy foods. That's protein isolate.
So is there a well-rounded, really well-done body of evidence to say soy decreases zinc absorption? No. You can basically find any study saying anything about something that decreases something another, but unless it's a really well done, or we're seeing it in epidemiology, which is more of the observational, we've done some crossover studies, we've done some randomized control, like we have a really large body of evidence. There's nothing to say like, yeah, we're going to give the recommendation of don't consume soy with zinc. No, there's nothing we've seen that really says that. So quick answer to that, no. Eat protein. Soy is a great protein. We do recommend organic soy protein, or just soy products in general. It's great if they're fermented. It's great if they're whole, like edamame. That's wonderful. You're getting that synergistic effect of the food. You will get a little bit of zinc in there as well in whole soybeans. So that's wonderful. And it has a synergistic effect as a whole food. So that's great.
All right. Love it. So you all have great questions.
Yeah,
you're asking about gut nurture. Do you have samples to see if it works well for you? We don't currently offer samples. It's available on Complement's website. So if you did want to try gut nurture, it's available on Complement's website.
And guys, there's a money back guarantee, so you can try it, and then if you want to try and see how you like it.
Someone's asking, how is it best to have it? We like to have it in various ways. I prefer it as a nice warm tea. It's turning into fall now, which I can't say that I love fall and winter. I love summer, but I like soup and tea. So I'll accept them if they bring that to my life. I like drinking it as a hot tea. And not going to lie, I'm Arab. I'll drink tea if it's 100 degrees outside.
Yeah.
So I drink it as a hot tea. You can put it in room temperature water, cold water, sparkling water. I've even been putting it in oatmeal and love it lately. I've been making the yummiest blueberry lemon ginger oatmeal out of it. So you could, if you really wanted to get the benefits, you have tons of nausea, have it just in warm water. And that can be helpful if you're taking it because it has a nice prebiotic fiber powder. It has nutrients in there like molybdenum that can help reduce some of that sulfury gas you might be having. It has antioxidants in there. If you're having it for those benefits, you can drink it away from food, or you can also add it to your different foods.
And guys, make sure if you're clicking the link in our bio or clicking below, sign up for our newsletter. We're gonna be launching just kind of a little preview gut nurture season. So we really want to get winter around the season of gut nurturing, where it is a time to eat some really great functional soups and warm beverages, really warming foods up and cooking foods. Here's really the benefit of cooking foods. Yes, raw foods have a benefit. Cooked foods have a benefit, especially for those of you suffering with gut issues. Cooked foods can have an amazing, amazing benefit. So we're going to be launching some really great recipes. So stay tuned for that. If you want to get those, make sure you're signed up for our email list. That's going to be coming out in our email list. So you can do that. Again, if you're watching on Instagram, link in the bio. Anywhere else, link down below. Sign up for our newsletter so you get that.
All right.
We have a couple more.
We have a couple more. So someone's asking, how can you help low stomach acid?
Oh, yeah.
We actually did a live on this. So I'd recommend go back, watch it. It's easy to find our lives on our YouTube. But we talked about some things like, one, making sure you don't have an ulcer with the low stomach acid, because some of the things that can raise your stomach acid can actually hurt you if you have a stomach ulcer. So don't do things like HCl capsules. You really want to be careful when you're taking those. I know people will really recommend them willy-nilly, like, hey, just take betaine HCl and that'll help. It's hydrochloric acid. That's what you need. That can give you a stomach ulcer, actually. So I'm not a fan of those. I really am not a proponent of them, especially people who tell you just take a bunch so you can figure out your own dose, because when it starts burning, that's too much for you. That could be a sign that you're already in ulcer territory. Not a good idea. But generally eating more bitter foods, having vinegars in your meals, allowing proper time for digestion between meals, other things that you'll learn about in that other live that we did. Love it. And somebody's asking, would you do a cookbook?
I don't know, maybe. I mean, we have our Good Get A through Z guide on our website. That's kind of like our cookbook. I mean, it has over 100 recipes.
It has over 100 recipes in there and foods to try from A to Z for your gut. So.
And probably if we do like a SIBO IBS, like a really robust, cool cookbook for SIBO IBS. But we have so many cool things we've been working on. Like we run our private practice, so it takes a lot of time, but we're working on some really cool things. Like 2023, we're launching some very exciting things. So again, make sure you're on our email list, launching some very exciting things for SIBO IBS patients. So we're launching a course for that, which will have amazing recipes. And they're recipes where you can filter between low histamine or low phytate, low sulfur,
low FODMAP.
So it's going to be really great.
Low
well, it's going to have, it'll basically help you with phytates essentially. But, and then on top of that, we want to eventually launch some really great things for families. So we want to help you all prevent from ever having SIBO IBS, really have a healthy, robust gut microbiome for you and your kids. So that's coming up. So we are very, very excited.
Hi from New Zealand.
Hi from New Zealand.
Hello.
Hi from Southern California.
For being here. So love these questions that you all ask. If you want more from us, I love the questions of like, how can I learn about gut nurture? How can I learn about if you have a cookbook? Subscribe on our website to our newsletter. You can go to marriedtohealth.com. We give you guys updates there. Search our blogs. We post them regularly. We have recipes up on our website, and we let you all know first when a new resource is coming out, or which of our really cool friends. Like, guys, I'm so grateful to have such cool friends, and our friends do really cool things. So what our cool friends are up to and what courses they're launching and books they're writing too. And if you want to keep up to date with us, you can subscribe on our website. So You asked other really great questions. I wrote them down as topics since they didn't really tie into today, but things like how hormonal acne ties into your gut.
Yeah, we have that on our list.
We have that on our list. I added it. And then other questions that you all asked. But hopefully this was helpful. And we hope that you continue to heal with each meal so that way you can enjoy a diversity of plant foods. And if you are struggling and you feel like restriction is the only way to live, please seek help. So work with your care team, work with a gut-focused dietitian. I'm still currently accepting a few more new patients. We are onboarding new dietitians because we know that you guys need help. So we're bringing on more gut-focused dietitians to our team as well. So that way we can support you. But thank you so much for being here. We loved answering your questions, loved spending this time together, and we hope it was helpful.
Until next time, heal with each meal, everybody. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.